I had amazing music for you all, our amazing Ella Fitzgerald and Louis Armstrong song Summertime. And just a fun fact, the original lyrics were Summertime and the youth financial education is easy. Well, at least it feels like that when you have great resources to work with and amazing experts who will be sharing their secrets today. Welcome to our webinar. I'm Nicole Hood. I'm the co-founder and CEO of My First Nest Egg, a turnkey youth financial education program for financial institutions. We partner with credit unions and banks nationwide, helping them bring vital financial education to their youngest members while also fostering trust and strong relationships. So today I am thrilled to introduce our panel of financial education specialists who also happen to be My First Nest Egg partners. They'll be sharing insights, strategies, and success stories. So let's go ahead and meet our experts. Angela Barlup is the Financial Education Program Manager for Belco Community Credit Union. In her 13 years at Belco, she has been instrumental in developing and conducting financial education programs at local schools, nonprofits, and community groups. Angie is a certified credit union financial counselor. To date, Angie, how many kids just this year, how many students have you been able to reach with your programming?
Since January, I've had over 700 students. So that was just my classroom presentations.
That's incredible.
Yeah,
Amazing. So excited to have you. Thanks for joining us.
thank you.
Our second speaker panelist is Sam Newman. She is a financial education specialist and youth coordinator at NCCU. In the past 3 years, NCCU has developed and launched their financial education program called Fly with NCCU. They've reached more than, how many people, Sam, have you guys been able to reach in just the last couple of, since 2023?
Yeah, so we actually started kind of keeping track of that in August of 2023. So since then, we've helped over 900 to 1,000 people, which is really exciting.
That's incredible. And they're providing resources and financial education to people of all ages. So that's really neat. So you guys are running the full gamut. And John Nolan, our final panelist, is a seasoned veteran of financial literacy, having led the charge in East Tennessee for more than 10 years. He's currently serving as a manager of community and business development for Y12 Credit Union and leads all of their financial literacy initiatives. He's a passionate advocate, and I've had the pleasure of meeting John a few times at different financial education events, and just thrilled to have you. John, do you have an estimate of how many people you've reached this year so far, or any time frame?
So we look at last year to current. We have averaged about in the last 2 years alone. Each year we've averaged about 4,000 students in community in community events where we've connected with people and done classes and workshops. About 4,000 people in a year. It's incredible.
Amazing, amazing. So as you can see, our panelists are bringing a tremendous amount of expertise. And so without further ado, I'm going to jump in to, let's see if we can actually make my screen move. All right. So panelists, you're going to bring the heat and help us with this framework for providing great summer programming to kids. So this framework is going to emphasize 4 key pillars: hands-on learning, engagement in the community, audience, their age and ability, and then tools and resources. So let's go ahead and talk about hands-on learning. Okay, Angie, I'm going to throw the first question out to you.
Sure.
How is it a little different teaching kids over the summer, and why is it so important to have hands-on programming?
Oh, definitely. In the summer, we're doing more summer camps and activities that are tied in with that. And the kids are glad to be out of the classroom, and so they don't want to be. You want to make it as interactive as possible. We do a lot of games, we do a lot of activities, and things that still challenge them, because kids, and things that allow them to compete, because kids love to compete and they love to be challenged. So we definitely try and build that into all of our programming over the summer.
do you have a particular exercise that you have had success with either during the school year or during the summer that you know that you're going to do this year?
Yes. Yeah, we do a lot with the younger kids with wants and needs. It's usually the first thing, our first foot in the door. And so we start off with a story time, but then do a wants and needs grab bag where they identify. And then we end that with several rounds of wants and needs bingo. And the kids love that. They love to compete against one another. And their first question is usually, are there prizes involved? And we always make sure that we give something small away, pencils or some other small little giveaway when they win. So
Perfect, perfect. Sam, how about you? Any success stories or things that you always know that you're going to do when you are walking into one of these summer programs?
Yeah, definitely. So, for the summertime, it's a great time to kind of reach those organizations that aren't necessarily affiliated with schools. So, we do a lot of outreach, within the community organizations by partnering with organizations like Boys and Girls Club or Youth in Action, or we've even partnered with different Native American reservations that are local to us, and then helping them with their summer youth programs and doing activities and presentations with that. So kind of building off of what Angela said, we try to keep it as engaging and fun as possible, really focusing on simulation-based learning. So bringing what it's like to be an adult to kids has been really effective in keeping kids engaged, and then making it a fun way to kind of build memories of what it's going to be like, dealing with their own finances in the future.
Mhm. I love that idea of letting kids do something adult. What are some of the activities that you can that help them pretend to be an adult?
Absolutely. So, I mean, we definitely use activities through My First Nest Egg in order to do that for our younger ages. We also partner with Kashi, and we've recently started offering reality fairs as well. So, we do that mainly through the schools, but actually this year we're for the first time going to be offering it to the community as well, to some of those like organizations that we deal with on a local level, and just kind of reaching people, where they're at as youth go get through the summer.
And one of the things that I love that you have mentioned before is you're using the Mind First Nest Egg shopping on a budget. And I believe, Angie, you've used this in the classroom as well at this point.
yes.
Could you touch on one of the, I mean, you've done some really cool things to adapt this, and why is shopping, like why is letting kids giving the opportunity to shop, why is that such a great way to introduce financial education?
Absolutely. So I feel like the shopping on a budget is such a great way to kind of have kids really know what it's like to be an adult. I mean, students and kids really love the opportunity to make their own decisions and really kind of make their own shopping list and then go shopping and kind of go through what it's like for a parent or a guardian to maybe kind of plan out what they're going to feed their family for a night or a week. Uh, the program itself is very adaptable. So what we've done is we've made like a little ad so they get to look in like the weekly ad and kind of circle the things they want, plan out, the meals that they're going to have, and then they go shopping for it. And then based on their age level and making it, age appropriate, aging it up and down, we do introduce concepts like scarcity and different other financial terms and buzzwords to kind of get them thinking about those things for the
Okay.
future.
And John, I know you do something a little different. It may require a liability waiver. I'm not 100% sure. But would you talk a little bit about, I mean, when we said hands-on, I did not expect it to be this hands-on with what you do. Would you mind sharing a little bit
Absolutely.
of what you go do when you jump in a classroom?
So no waivers need to be signed, although after it's ever said and done, our compliance department may require it after they see this interview. So no, what we do is a great object lesson, and what's fantastic about this is this works with every age group. It doesn't matter who they are, as I've heard it said before, from ages K to gray. But we take tennis balls and we literally chuck them at people. So here's how it works. I'm going to paint the picture for you. We ask for a couple of volunteers, and we start off with throwing the tennis ball at them, at a steady rate. They can use their hands to catch it. That's fine. They just have to catch as many as they can and hold on to them at the same time. Then we say, great, what's your best hand to catch with? And they say, it's my left hand or my right hand. We go, oh, that's great. Use that one, but take your bad one and put it behind you and put it behind your back. And you can only use one hand to catch the balls from going forward. And so, just in true fashion, just to create a level of anxiety that even Xanax doesn't take away, we began to chuck them very fast and different different ways to just to kind of make them force them to kind of catch it. And without fail, we usually throw 9, and they almost always drop all but 1 or 2. And what we've done with our tennis balls is we've actually labeled them. And so we'll label them rent or mortgage, or we'll label them utilities or groceries or food or gas or, the car payment, things like that. And we talk about the budget. And it's great because it works with all age groups. Is that, listen, if you're not making great decisions with money and you're not making a plan, when you're not making wise decisions with them, it's like trying to catch all of these tennis balls with one hand. You might catch 1 or 2, but something's going to come at you in a different way, and it's going to be impossible for you to catch them all, and something's going to drop. And the last thing you want it to be is your mortgage or your utilities or your car payment or your insurance or your gas. And
Love
it
it.
really creates a great discussion that we can then tie into. And it gets, again, for any age group, it's fantastic. And yeah, I'm getting a special nod. We're going to have a waiver by the time it's over said and done. So I'm sorry about that there, but yeah.
So I think that the pre-questions that we've had leading up to this webinar from different people have been really about this topic. And it is about where to look and how to get involved in the community if you don't have some of the relationships. And I know you all really have connections already with the school, but sometimes during the summer times, schools aren't really looking for programming outside of just getting the kids that maybe didn't pass up to passing. And so they're really not, engaged in financial education or looking for outside programming. So Andy, I just absolutely love what you do in the community. I mean, I feel like you are an octopus with your arms in every different place. Tell us a little bit about how you are spreading financial education to kids even during the summer and how you're getting there.
We're doing this summer, we'll be doing 2 different summer camps. And that is really, one is tied in with a local school district, and the other is tied into a nonprofit that holds the summer camp. But we look for those opportunities. We've done some things with Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts. So there's just a lot of opportunities out there in the community in the summer, and possibly even with camps or organizations that are already holding events for students to be able to get out there and become a part of that.
What would you say is when you reach out to them, and are you looking for a certain age? How do you advertise? Do you say, hey, we have a free program for an hour, or what's the best way to start doing that outreach?
I'll usually use the connections that I have, and then ask them, are you looking for any help this summer with your camps? And what, and we kind of gauge it as what their need is. If they're looking for a one-time presentation for all of the campers, we'll do that. If they'd like it broken up more by age groups, we can also, accommodate that as well. So I think we really in the summer, we try and be as flexible as we can with making the program fit the needs of the camp or the organization.
Perfect. Thanks. Sam, how about you? What are some strategies to having great outreach to some of these places and making sure that your excellent programming actually gets used over the summer?
Yeah, so I mean, since our program has just been, growing and developing in the last couple of years, I feel like community outreach and finding those connections has been really important as we, start to expand and build. Um, Part of the thing that we've really utilized in our area is a community nonprofit network, which we meet like once a month, and we get to learn all about the fun things that different nonprofits are doing in the community, but we also get to advertise, our own services and figuring out ways to partner with those nonprofits. We were able to, connect with a few different libraries through this method, and different, youth nonprofit like organizations. Another thing I would like to highlight, I mean, we try to go to a lot of different community events, and especially as we're trying to target youth and bring youth financial well-being, a lot of these like youth nights or youth events are really, really helpful in establishing those partnerships. Like, I've just walked up to different, people that have booths there, and, give them a flyer and are like, hi, make introductions and just show them what we have to offer. And that's a great way to kind of just open the door to, future conversations and partnering.
Excellent. Thank you. And I love, what was the name of that website that you use in your area?
Yeah, so it's just our youth, or it's a nonprofit network. So I don't know, if there's things like that in other areas or whatnot. I also maybe recommend going to like chamber events then, if a nonprofit network isn't there, because there's a lot of really active organizations with the chamber too. That might be a more or a less localized version of that.
Perfect. So John, I want to ask you a similar question, but you only have so much time to be reaching out to different groups. Is there some place now that you don't go to because you realize that that's just a really tough place to go in the summer, and now you've kind of found your sweet spot and you kind of know where to reach out and what types of organizations, or what's your experience been like?
The thing that I tell folks is, I've done this with management and leadership over the years, and I've done this with even partnerships, because the reality is, when it comes to financial education and trying to establish those partnerships that Angie and Sam have talked about, it's really about building the relationship. And if I don't feel that I'm getting a return on my investment of time and talent and resources with a group or an organization, I'm going to probably pull back from that. And I think that a lot of us, especially in the community outreach space, especially within the credit union and FI world, I think we are afraid that we're going to hurt someone's feelings because we don't want to go to their event when there's only 2 people that show up every single month, and it's the same people every single month for 12 months. When we hear about another credit union or another FI that is down the street and they're talking to 100 people, and it's like, wait a minute, how can I have that? And I think that you have to be really intentional with your time and say, what is it that I really want to accomplish? Because every single one of us believes that the message is important. We all know how important, how vital that financial literacy is in our community, how it changes lives, how it changes communities, and it shifts the momentum in a positive way. And I think that we have to be intentional and say, I want to work with you, but maybe we bring in another group. So a great example of that, we had been reached out. Someone had reached out to us from the Knoxville area YWCA, and they work with parents, both single parents and married families. That kind of dynamic of both parents in the house, and they were wanting to do a class. Well, they were wanting to do one once a month, and they were literally 3 streets away from an organization that I was already partnered with. And we were struggling to have we would have attendance that would go up and down. I felt like I was on a roller coaster, and I'm not a big fan of roller coasters. For those of you that may know me personally, I'm not a heights guy. Like I don't do ups, I do downs. Okay. And not very fast ones. So, and I equate that to my favorite
John,
Bible verse.
So getting partners in partnerships really is awesome.
Oh, it's 100%. We married the 2 of them together, and it made a huge difference. And now we have those 2 coming together. We have 30 plus people at this event every single time. It's made a big impact.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
So one of the other things is part of this framework is making sure that you really know who your audience is. And we've talked about this together as a group, that you can't have a completely different curriculum for every single age group, for every single kid. And it's all about adaptability and bringing it. And so one of my questions for you is, what is your trick when you walk into a situation for determining the literacy level of the classroom? And then from there, what do you do to adjust and adapt with the materials? I know for us, when we walk in, I always ask if they know what interest is. Can somebody tell me what interest is? And every once in a while, you'll have a second grader who's like, it's the money you pay on money. And then you'll have an eighth grader 2 hours later who will say, it's when you're interested in girls. And you're like, okay, I know how we're going to have to adjust this, however it is. So can you tell me a little bit about, you're walking in, you've never met this group of kids, and do you have a trick for determining the level of a class, and how do you adjust it at that moment?
Yes, that really can happen just even between different classrooms. And we usually start out by talking about money. What is money? And then you'll get that feedback sometimes very differently based on the classroom. And just watching the dynamics of the kids as you're starting to ask those questions, whether you can go at the pace you normally have planned, or are you going to have to pull back a little bit and spend a little bit more time on certain topic areas, or a little bit more help with maybe adding up amounts when you're doing budgeting type things. So yeah, I think you really have to have a keen sense of and the ability to pivot when it comes to certain classrooms, just making sure, like, if the flow isn't going the way you need it, you just change it up, because they're not aware of exactly what you're going to do usually. So it's not like they feel like they're missing something if you have to cut back on something, or if you're going to, at that point you could add something. So I think you just really do have to assess the students and how they're interacting. So
Adjust on the fly.
exactly.
Yeah. And I mean, that takes a little bit of skill to do. I mean, it takes a lot of skill to be able to do.
And it really does, especially if you have, much younger kids. We've done some things with pre-K this year, and you inevitably usually have one that just talks nonstop because they're so happy to be with their little friends. And so then you just have to find ways to, redirect, so they start listening, to listen to the story, or, get involved in the activity. So.
Perfect. Sam, would you mind talking about finding the balance between fun and challenge? You've done something neat with some of our programming, and you've built in scarcity. And I was wondering if you could explain a little bit how you took a basic shopping on a budget, where everybody could go up and get something, and how you've now added additional rules to make it a little bit more complex, and why you think that's important for teaching kids.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess that also kind of leads into the adaptability of the materials as well. So, depending on the group, we always, take it back or pull it back a little bit, or, add, steps to make it a little bit more challenging and add in a few new terms. But we definitely like to kind of get creative and add in and sprinkle in those financial terms. What we've done specifically for that is, with the shopping on a budget, we would like to see, maybe not all of the items at the grocery store are stocked then. So we'll leave, just a few less than maybe the class size is. So if burgers are really popping, then, well, there's not enough buns. So unless your family wants to have some really plain just burgers, then maybe we have to think about switching up the meal items. Or, it really gets kids thinking and about the things that, might not always be available, but also, how to adapt their mindset from, like, okay, so this is what my plan was, and this is how much it was going to cost, but what's this new plan going to be? And sometimes we can really strategize and get it to be, better than they were even anticipating in the first place. So.
Amazing. Thank you. John, what strategy do you use to adapt on the fly when you walk into a new situation?
It really is just about knowing, trying to get a feel for the group. And I don't know that there is I don't know there's any one thing that I do. I try to connect with the person that's sponsoring the event, like that's leading the event from that organization side, just to kind of get an idea who is in the audience, what do you know about them, those kinds of things. If that doesn't work, we really just kind of asking a couple of questions before you get started, talking with folks in the few minutes before you're getting up there to do a presentation. Usually you get a couple of folks that will walk in a few minutes early, and this is where I try to talk to them to get to know them. What are they looking to get out of this? Why did they show up? That helps a lot. And then at the end of the day, really just think of it this way, folks. If you go into a situation and you don't have the ability to do that, or you're nervous, just remember you're the financial literacy expert. People are coming to hear you, people are coming to see that. So don't be afraid, because you already know more than they do. And you're already going to be the person they're looking to look up to make a difference in their life. So don't panic at all. Don't panic.
I
It'll be
love
great.
that. That's a really great reminder. One of the strategies we use sometimes when we're working in low income or homeless housing, and we have a wider range of people, like we'll have the parents there and the kids. One of the things sometimes we do to incorporate the whole family into the learning and really make it a comfortable environment is we'll showcase the parents. So for instance, we'll give out one of our curriculums, and while we know the kids are going to struggle with it, we almost pick that we'll say, hey, parents versus kids. And we really let the parent shine in a situation like that. And we've had some really great feedback, because at the end of the class, you have a kid say, wow, mom, you did really well. How did you know to do that? And we really love to give the parents that moment where their kids can understand, gosh, budgeting is really hard, or these financial concepts aren't as basic. Um, Finally, wanted to talk about tools and resources. And the three of you are the first to tell us it's not easy to create resources from scratch and have something fresh all the time. And I'd really love to ask, what's your experience been like in creating materials or having something and then being able to expand on it? And Angie, you're like literally of several days a week in front of kids. How do you prepare, and what makes it easier for you, or what are some tips?
We've really tried to do um, something that is more standardized, like you've created these budgets and this business boot camp that you can just pick up and go, and you can add, or add things to it to enhance it. And that's what I've really tried to do, because it makes it easier in the scheduling. Like, we'll have a specific program for third grade, we'll have a specific program for fifth grade, and we're making inroads into the middle school and the sixth grade. So it really is, I think, when you have that, and especially with the programming that we've developed ourselves up to this point, we list what standards are covered, and that does help get in the door, your foot in the door with the schools too, when they know exactly what you're covering and what standards it's going to help them with. In Pennsylvania, we have a career readiness initiative that teachers have to have artifacts, or a guidance area has to have artifacts at certain grade levels. And a lot of the programming that we do right now meets those guidelines, and we've worked with them to develop the artifacts to document that they've done what they need to do for an entire grade level. So that's been very helpful. But the materials that you've put together are excellent, because I think, like I said, you can expand on them. You can, it opens up so many opportunities with something that's already an organized kit. So
I love what you've said, though. A great tip for everybody is having a paper to show that shows the standards and what you're accomplishing in that class, because it does get you in easier. So I think, I mean, Angie, I think you just hit like a little secret there for a lot of people, presenting the standards. So thank you.
And I can tell you, Nicole, we did that by working with, like, when we got our foot in the door of the schools, like, what areas are you in need of? And then the guidance area had a lot of help, especially with the career readiness options that we put together in, like, this is what we need to cover. And then we'd kind of go back and forth. I'd be like, this is what I have in mind. And then they maybe even do something. The last part of our programming may be the guidance department coming in and putting this into a form that it's a quick survey, or in saving a piece of whatever we've done that documents it for the entire grade. So
thank you, great tip.
sure.
Sam, what would you say? You're creating materials. How is it helpful to get materials that you can kind of adapt and change? Tell us about your experience a little bit.
Yeah, so I mean, we're a small credit union. So small credit union, small budget. We have to kind of get creative with a lot of our materials and programming. So we are, creating a lot of that stuff, the bulk of it in-house here. And having it be adaptable has prove vital because, I mean, like John mentioned earlier, K through grade, we're really trying to reach people in all stages of life to set them up for financial success. So it's really important that the materials that we have are adaptable, both, for our membership to benefit from, and community, but also for us to not have to spend all of our time dedicated to just curriculum building. So it's kind of a balance there. We definitely try to supplement using our partnerships, just like My First Nest Egg. I think a lot of those things that we look for in our partnerships is that adaptability. So it's something that multiple grades can use, and we can reach a lot more people with those items. Like Angela said, we also really, really strive to fit that curriculum standards. We actually use the Jumpstart national standards, and I think that's really helpful in as we kind of grow our partnerships within the schools to just kind of have that behind our curriculum as we go in and say, hey, how can we help you as you navigate? For Minnesota, we're actually we passed that bill of requiring personal finance in the schools as a high school requirement now. So yes, I'm super excited about that. Yeah, that's something that I am a huge advocate for. And so however we can get into the schools and support them as they kind of navigate that bill passing is exactly where we want to be. And allowing them to know, that we do follow the national standards has been really instrumental in, developing and strengthening those partnerships.
Perfect. Thanks, Sam. Yeah, and we're all cheering for including even more of these incentives for to have standards in schools. And my hope is that it even drops into elementary and middle school. John, would love to hear from you. You have been such a cheerleader for My First Nest Egg from the start, and I know you guys really rely heavily on our digital programming, and you guys have hundreds and hundreds of kids and families using our digital programming. But what would you say is a helpful tip in terms of finding good tools and resources?
Well, first things first, don't reinvent the wheel. Someone has already done something curriculum wise. And if you've been in the credit union for more than 5 seconds, you've already discovered that there are so many resources out there that we are all sharing. And so first and foremost, folks, this is not a shameless plug, and I am not paid for by My First Nest Egg, but I can promise you that Nicole and her team is probably one of the best partners you will ever have in reaching what we call Gen Alpha, the under 8th grade group. And I'll tell you why, because the programming works. It really connects with people, and it connects with parents. And that is, so 30 seconds, that's all I need, I promise, 30 seconds. When we were looking to create how we wanted to approach the elementary age group, the Gen Alpha group, I knew that if we were going to make a difference in that group, it had to start with a partnership with parents. And it had to be us coming together with parents saying, this is important. This is important. So go ahead and start having the basic conversations with your kids now and start figuring out what that looks like. And My First Nest Egg checks every single one of those boxes. We've been able to take all of her information, all of the flyers, and all of the product, the programming that My First Nest Egg has provided us, and we've been able to take this to community events, into schools. We've been able to set up the app for folks inside and outside of our credit union to encourage them to come bank with us as a result. And what we're seeing is that parents are having the conversation in a very profound way. And so when it comes to curriculum, don't try to spend 17 hours behind a computer on the weekend, killing yourself to try to write programming. It's already out there. Take advantage of it and have that conversation with your leaders to bring that programming into your credit union. You will be absolutely glad you did. And you'll get at least 3 extra hours of sleep a night.
Well, John, thank you so much. And I know my amazing business partner is on the phone who manages our curriculum and has an entire army of teachers and curriculum writers and people going over standards to really make that all happen. So we appreciate that it's noticed. And next, I'd love to open up the floor to questions from our participants for any of our experts. I actually wrote down a couple of little things, nuggets of information. So if you have any questions, would love to open it up. Otherwise, we're just coming up on our time. and we would just love to continue sharing. So Angie, Sam, John, if first, thank you so much. This was incredible. I truly took some notes down of things that I'm going to add and think about going forward. So attendees, just drop a question in the Q&A and we'd be glad to answer them. Okay, I actually just got texted a question. Okay. What strategies do you use to be sure it's engaging, but also relevant and educational? Would any of you'd like to take that question?
I guess the biggest thing for me is just looking at the youth in my life. You know, would my nephews like this? You know, getting tips from the youths themselves and the kids themselves. They have great information and help, and they will tell you, you know, very bluntly if, you know, they like it, if they don't like it, what they would change about it. So that's where I would start.
So relevant.
I agree. Yeah, definitely I get feedbacks from my nieces and nephews and younger kids, just making sure that, you know, what I have planned is something that resonates with them. So
Awesome.
Yeah,
Awesome.
in the classroom, we asked that. Do you like this? Would you do it again? And is there something you'd change? We specifically asked the kids. They are not afraid. 100% not afraid.
One thing we've found is when we're out doing curriculums in the community is how often we adapt them just based on what we see the kids really love. So we do our business boot camp for older kids, and in one day Annie and I will be with 150 6th through 8th graders. And what they really wanted to do at the end of creating a business was they wanted to pitch it Shark Tank style. And it was amazing how much more engaged they were when they knew that they were going to be pitching it. We had the funniest thing. There was a group of 8th grade boys, and they created a line of girl repellent body wash, deodorants, and mouthwashes. And it was so funny. We really then asked the class, and we said, you know, we really want to build businesses that will sell to someone. And we said, so is this a product that would actually sell? And little did we know, every hand of a boy in the class popped up, and apparently they want Diesel deodorant. So it's really cute though, as we let kids guide where they want to be educated. So once we lay the foundation, allowing them to tell us which direction to go. You know, we didn't have a pitch. They really wanted to pitch. Well, now that's a big part of the business boot camp curriculum, and it's our favorite part now. So, well, thank you all so much for coming to our Summertime and the Financial Education is Easy webinar. I hope it was helpful to you. I know I learned a lot, and I also know that these amazing panelists, would you be willing, if anybody wanted to follow up with you for additional advice, to reach out? And I would just say that John mentioned not recreating the wheel. There are so many amazing experts, and you have 3 of them sitting in front of you today. And so would really like to continue to share all of the value that they bring in, the passion that they bring to educating the next generation of for financially literate students. So thank you again so much, Angie and Sam and John, for joining us today. We're just thrilled, and we're so grateful for your partnership and everything that you do in your communities.
And thank you, Nicole. Your
Yeah.
organization, your company does a great things, and we've been very happy with everything that you provide to us through that partnership. So
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you so much, Nicole. You guys have been vital in Aging Down our program. Also to the other attendees, I mean, it was great to kind of get to know your guys' programs as well. I know John and I have, you know, met in the past, and he has been just great with all the questions that I throw his way. So he's hopped on a phone call more than once now to, you know, kind of get his thoughts on different things we got going on. So he's been a
And when
great
you
resource as
say
well.
you're throwing questions at him, are you actually throwing them in tennis balls, or that you
tennis
just
ball
ask?
stuff.
Well, I guess next time I sure will. Yeah, I'll bring my own tennis balls though, John. It's
I'll be ready. So
Thank you all. Okay, well, we're going to wrap up today, and have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday.
Thank you.
You
Thanks, everybody.
too.
Have a great
You.
day.
Thanks. Bye.
Yeah, bye.
Thank you guys. I thought that went really, it was a beautiful, beautiful webinar. And I truly have some notes written down on some great tips. So thank you.
Sure, and feel free if you want to. I mean, I'm happy to allow you to provide my contact information. Trish and I will definitely. And John, I'm going to be calling you for some like ball throwing activities.
So I got to ask, where in Pennsylvania are you located?
We're located in Harrisburg.
Okay, I used to live in Mercersburg, about an hour from there.
Oh, okay. So we cover our service areas, 7 counties in central Pennsylvania. So
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
cool.
So
I
and
just wanna-
Nicole, I have to tell you that the treasure map and the parents got everybody has loved that. We used that this weekend at an event, a community event, a family event sponsored by our local TV station, and they were like, "Yeah, we were just handing those out left and right. People loved it." And we've had, parents that are like, I'm a Cub Master. I'm going to take this back to the Scouts. So we're really hoping that's going to help build some additional usage of our app. So thank you for that.
Oh, I'm so glad. We're really proud of those materials, and we're just the best part is hearing that they're being used is so well.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing that. That's
And
fantastic.
I have to say, our marketing team, whatever you put out, when we send that on a monthly basis, I mean, Aaron, our digital person, he's always like, I love that everything is set up. I just take it and go. And he loves that. So it's been a great partnership, and everyone's just super thrilled with what we've been able to do with you. So
Thank you, Angie. Really appreciate it. Really
Yeah.
appreciate it. Megan,